I suppose you know when the desk is a mess like this, we're going to cover at least two topics. One of them is going to be gold. Okay, so I have a whole list of questions here. Not a lot of planning, so hopefully we can stay on topic. And most of these questions are about gold, but it's early at the time of recording, so you're going to have to bear with me a little bit as I get properly caffeinated. Okay, so let's start this off with a question that I guess I really wanted to get to. This comes from Nick Preston. He asks, for someone who's on a tight budget but wants to consistently stack gold monthly, what's the best fractional size to buy? Is a 1/10 ounce really that bad to buy if I can't afford a 1/4 ounce a month? Or would you suggest skipping the monthly 10th and buying a 1/4 ounce every other month? All right, so I'd give you two answers. The logical answer would be to try to buy a 1/4 ounce every other month because that's going to save a lot on premium. The reason I say try, though, is that 60 days for a recurring purchase is a long time. If it's something that is easier to buy on a monthly basis because that keeps you interested, then I would say go for the 10th ounce. Because I don't know about the rest of you, but I've spent $40 on worse things than the premium on a gold coin. Now this tends to change over time, and even out of the gate, if the most important thing to you is the cost of accumulation for that gold, then you really need to look at the math and you probably need to look at the larger coins. But if the cost accounting of it all is not the biggest thing to you, then just do what makes you feel good. And one of the things I wanted to get at, by the way, is that when I make these videos and I drop the 1 ounce gold coins on the frame, like that's no big deal. I definitely understand that it is. I understand the idea of wanting to buy more gold than I have the budget for, as well as anyone. I had to work through whether or not it even made sense and then govern my purchases for a decade. And I hope that doesn't get lost in what I'm doing here. I'm not making these videos to show off. Again, it's anonymous. I'd just be propping up an alter ego anyway. But these videos have always been more about making the kind of content that I wanted to watch myself. And honestly, the larger coins are just easier to film. Okay, so next we need to take care of a question from Corvus, since he has asked this no fewer than 4 times. Corvus would like to know, would you rather fight 1 horse-sized rooster or 100 rooster-sized horses? Now, I don't know what kind of decent human would fight a horse at all, but then he wants to know also what kind of weapons, tactics, fighting styles. Would you John Wick the horses or would you kickbox the rooster? Okay, so the answer to this, of course, is simple. It's 100 rooster-sized horses. A horse-sized rooster would be terrifying. It's an immediate forfeit. Now, Corvus wanted the details on the fight, how that would go. So I guess it'd be like a grueling series of heel stomps, maybe some shin kicks, just putting in the work. Now, the nice thing here, though, is that presumably, at least, you couldn't get sued by 100 rooster-sized horses, especially if they started it. And I think that would be a nice change. I wish there was some kind of contract that you could get mouthy humans to sign, giving up their right to sue when you knock them out, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. From Ontario asks, are you planning on anything a little more exotic than your usual, like Libertad, Philharmonic, Kangaroo, or alternative Canadian designs? Yeah, okay, so I do like variety, but I have a very strong lean to uniformity. That I'm sure that's pretty clear. The Britannia was not my usual, but now that I have 2 of them, it would be really hard for me to buy a Kangaroo rather than another Britannia. I guess I'm compelled to snap to grid, if that makes any sense. The recent Liberty purchase that I made, the Bronco or the Mustang, the 2021 American Liberty, well, that was just a little bit easier because I already had the 2017 Liberty. I also bought the 2019, and it just was something that because I had 1, it was easier to buy 2 and then 3. The Perth Mint Chinese Myths and Legends coins, that's going to be the same story. I had the Double Dragon and I really liked it. So completing that series, well, that lined up with something that I already had. I had the Swan also, same size, same look. And I'm sure this is going to get me some hate in the comments, but Libertads Well, they are pretty much lost on me. There's no doubt they're gorgeous coins, but they're an odd size and they're more expensive simply because Mexico meant so few of them. And that kind of value really just doesn't do anything for me. And I'm not saying I'll never buy one, but anything other than an eagle, a buffalo, maybe a Canadian maple leaf is a relatively big decision for me. I guess I have two things justifying exotic purchases. The first is just trying to keep the YouTube channel interesting. And then the second, which is much further down, I guess, is just trying to get my kids involved, get them interested. And if it wasn't for those two things, you know what? I'm plenty excited about my usual gold purchases. I'm never going to be not excited about getting another buffalo. It's a great question, though. I think about it a lot. So Paul Chu writes, I have 3 gold eagles in a slab graded MS70. I don't like my coins in a slab, and I have most of mine in capsules. Do you think it's prudent to break them out since they are graded MS70? Yeah, man, break them out. There is absolutely no reason to grade a standard bullion coin unless, I guess, you're trying to sell them on eBay, on Amazon. There are a few selling platforms where it makes sense. But it's more like a verified badge. So if I was buying online from someone I didn't know really well and it came in a slab and it was graded MS70, I would know that that was a perfect coin, so great. But it's bullion. If it was a collector coin, if it was one of those V75 American Gold Eagles, or it was some kind of error coin or something with collector value, then sure. I personally don't like slabs at all. So I don't even buy the collector coins in the graded slabs. I'm just probably a bad person to ask. I have no love for slabs. I have a video where I busted the this dragon versus phoenix out of a slab, and I know that made a few people mad, but it just isn't, it's my gold and I like them a certain way. Slabs don't fit into that. All right, Silver Heist writes. Okay, so first, Silver Heist is a great channel. I'm sure most of you who watch this channel know about Silver Heist. Check him out if not. So Silver Heist writes, sometimes I notice your thumbnail words or video title change. You generally get outstanding views. Does changing help? Can you really tell in an hour? Is your first or second instinct better? Okay, so the thumbnails and titles are literally the last thing I do before publishing a video. And I tend to post early in the morning before the coffee has kicked in. So a lot of times my first instinct will be either a little bit boring or just something that doesn't, I guess, make sense to everyone or even make sense to me once I see it live, especially if I'm trying to be sarcastic or if I'm just being sarcastic in the title. Something that I find funny might seem misleading to a viewer. So if a few minutes go by and it doesn't feel genuine enough, then I'll change it. If the video doesn't seem to be getting the normal amount of views, I'll change it. And I don't mean to bore people with the video aspect of this or the YouTube aspect, but some of this is probably relevant. By now, I can sense that pretty quickly. The part about whether or not a video is going to take or not. I don't like that part of YouTube. The algorithm's a bit of a game, and it's actually pretty easy to lure in viewers using words like urgent or must watch or just making some kind of ridiculous claim. You can say $15,000 gold or gold prices getting crushed, dollar collapsing. All of that is crap to me, at least. And I struggle a little bit trying to incorporate a little bit of a hook without being stupid. Now, Silver Heist uses, and then this happened, and that's not crap, that's not misleading in any way, and it's something a lot of YouTubers actually use outside of the precious metal space, but I imagine that you have to be pretty selective about when to use that, or you end up with the case of diminishing return, because when everything is super, then nothing is. Now, I haven't found my own word track that pumps views yet, and I don't want to bring my coin shop owner into the mix, so I guess I'll have to keep doing it the old-fashioned way, just to pay my kids to watch my videos. Okay, so the next one's an email from Eric M. Yeah, I think he used a real name, so we'll leave it at M. He asks if there's any reason to favor 22 karat American Gold Eagles since there's no real potential for them to be circulated. And he went on to say that he doesn't actually like how they look. The reason to buy American Gold Eagles is that they are incredibly popular, primarily for people who've been stacking for a long time. Probably not people who spend a lot of time watching YouTube videos showcasing the shiny 24 karat coins. The 22 karat versus 24 karat gold debate, it's heavily dependent on where you live. Now, Eric lives in southern United States, so Eric, you don't have any tax implications based on purity, so it's a little bit of a non-issue. If you were in Canada, most of Asia, for instance, then I personally wouldn't buy Eagles. I wouldn't buy Krugerrands, even though those are the two most popular gold coins in the world. So beyond the tax implications, then it comes down to use cases, I guess. If you intend to melt the coin down at some point, you probably don't, but the 24 karat gold coin would be easier to work with. Jewelers, they're a buyer of 24 karat coins, so that gives you one more sales outlet. And then I suppose potential damage would be something to look at. You're going to have to be very careful with the Canadian maple leaf. You can see, hold on, you can see a radial indent on this BU coin that appears to be from another Canadian maple leaf. It was probably happened when the dealer poured them out of the mint tube. If you've ever seen a dealer handle a tube of gold coins, it's eye-opening. And I've poured Eagles out of a tube multiple times. I've never seen a noticeable mark. So if you're gonna handle them roughly, then yeah, 22 karat coins, they have an advantage. Now, I prefer the looks of the 24 karat coins by a pretty fair margin, I guess, and that's why I show buffaloes far more than I show eagles on the channel. The bottom line, though, is that the purity really doesn't matter much here in the United States. There are probably equal pros and cons. If it matters to you, go with the buffalo, go with the Canadian maple leaf. You're not going to be sad with any of them. Okay, Silver Gold Saver asks, how do you think government will treat gold and silver when cash and coins cease to circulate? Everything turns digital. Will it remain as a collector item as it's treated today, or will it be banned? Will it increase in popularity as an item of value that can be traded without a digital footprint, or will it remain relatively unknown? Will gold or Bitcoin ever be a reserve to bank currency, or will currency remain unbacked and therefore become devalued? Yeah, so this is a deep one, but I would say just out of the gate that a lot of people get caught up on the idea that gold is money, silver is money, and if that's your thinking, then that's gonna be a hard one to unravel. Now, personally, I think of gold as an asset class, and because of that, I don't think that it is tied up into currency. I don't think it'll be banned, and I don't think it'll be a problem down the road. You can just ask anybody who has gold bars. They're not looking at it as a currency. As far as it becoming like an off-grid trading platform, maybe. That's something that I've thought about a fair amount. If cash were to go away, there needs to be something like cash. And honestly, I don't think cash will go away, at least not in our lifetimes. Now, some people watching this might be a fair amount younger than I am, but I think that some model of cash, some kind of hard currency, just will always be in play. Okay, so Jason K, I think this will be the last one for this video. I think it's running long. I have a few more questions I want to get to, but I'm going to break that out. We'll end with this one. Jason K asks, what's the backstory on the cards, notebooks, pens, and knives, and some of the other things you have in your videos? And can you show us your collection? I've seen Holtz and Shiragorov's and a few others that a lot of people would consider grails. Okay, I'm not going to go too deep into this because there are people who like the things that I have on the frame, and I know there are a few people who don't. So the question, it came up from, I want to say it came up from 11 different people. So I know it's a popular topic, and I know there are a lot of things in there, everything from the notebooks to the cards to the knives, and there are different interests in different things. So I'll give you the background first. When I started making these videos, I was struggling a little bit to show the actual size of the coins. And I figured that people just knew the size of a deck of cards. That made it a little bit easier. So I started adding that, and then I figured that gave a little bit of a size relationship. Well, I liked the way it looked. I've never really liked the hands and coins video format, so I thought maybe I would expand it just a little bit. I thought that gave it a little nicer feeling than throwing in an old dime or an old quarter. So some of it was just to make the videos look a little bit nicer. And the original plan for the channel was to do something that I guess had the feeling that it was coming from, let's say, a private club back behind the door marked private. And just showing gold coins on a flat table wasn't really doing it for me. It was getting really boring. So I started adding these Theory 11 decks of cards. I've played a lot of cards. I'm sure I've mentioned that before. And so I've just always loved these decks. Thought they looked great. And then I have always had the pocket knives. I've always had a pocket knife just off frame, and I just simply to open up the capsules. So I carry a Sabenza, and I realized pretty quickly that a lot of people, once I added that Sabenza to the frame, a lot of people spotted it. And those who were interested in gold, there actually happened to be a lot of people who were interested in some of those higher end pocket knives as well. So I started to add them to the videos more. And the field notes, well, that was similar. I was using them to take notes for my videos, and they were just off camera. They were opened up to kind of remind me how to stay on track. But I started working them into the frame as well, maybe to kind of dial back some of the feeling of the cards, the poker aspect, the pocket knives. You know, nothing I've shown has ever been tactical, but I like the idea of the pens and the notebooks. A pal of mine made fun of me for not having a good journal case, so I had Wildflower Leather Co. make this one. And I just really like the way it looks. You know, I'll drop some links in the description, by the way, to some of these things I'm talking about. Take a look. I don't know that any of it really fits with the idea of what I'm talking about, you know, in terms of gold, because I've said before that gold has this aspect where it can help you focus on savings by keeping you focused on not buying junk that you don't need. And I mean, just look at the pens. Some of these pens are stupid expensive. This $300 Saga. Yeah, this is made by Grimsmo, and if you know Grimsmo, they make this Norseman. You know that they're definitely not cheap. The knife, I don't remember exactly how much it cost. It's somewhere in the $1,100 range. And that part alone really doesn't fit. I mentioned earlier that I won't pay for a Libertad because they just cost more because there aren't very many made of them. Well, there's a little bit of that going on with some of these knives as well. These are mid-tech pocket knives. None of them are custom. A lot of them are expensive. A lot of them are hard to get a hold of. But that's just something that I guess I do collect. I don't really collect gold bullion. I do collect some other things. Pocket knives. There are more expensive hobbies, more expensive pastimes in gold, believe it or not. I don't really see sunk cost with gold. I know I can get it all back out. And with these pocket knives, in a lot of cases, I could sell them for as much as I paid or more as well. And not all of them are that expensive. Going back to pens, these Everyman Graftons, it's a $39 pen. That's expensive, but for what it is, I don't think it's bad. It's definitely a lot better than $300. And the Sabenza, you know, they're maybe $350. Some people would say that's crazy expensive, but I like the idea of keepsakes. I don't think that's the right word, but you know, a lot of these pens, a lot of these knives, at least, I've picked up at certain points with money from certain things. And say this Rockstead Higo 2, this is maybe my most expensive knife. It was given to me as an anniversary gift. So that's a little bit easier to justify than, say, the Shirogorov Quantum that I bought just because I really wanted it. So I think that this topic needs to get punted to its own thing. That way, if you don't care one bit, then you don't have to watch it. Let me just run down a couple things real quick. I've got tactical turn pens. These are the bolt action pens. I've got Grimsmo Saga pens. I've got these Everyman Graftons for the notebooks. They're field notes. I've got all kinds of these. They will show up in my description links. They're easy to get a hold of. Actually, I'll have links for all of these. The journal cover, Wildflower Leather Co. I actually asked him to make another one for me recently. Those are fantastic. Most of the decks of cards are Theory 11. There are some Wayfarers in here as well, Joker and the Thief. There's just a lot of this stuff. I don't know that it makes sense to have, but a lot of this stuff, it just feels cool. You know, and it's just more inspiring to me to write with a $40 pen than it is a $1.29 pen. It's just one of those things. It's art to me. And if the thing that inspires me to do something then actually results in making more money, well, I've put that, or at least some part of that, back into the kinds of things that inspire it. So it's just like feeding the money tree. And I don't know if you feed a money tree, maybe you water a money tree. So anyway, all of this stuff is art to me. It's usable, tactile art. It also gives context. And I think just in general, it's a low level, everyday point of inspiration. Okay, so it's crazy how long these get. I never really think about it until I look at the time, and it's been like 20 some minutes. It's just wild. I didn't even get to all the questions. There were a number of questions that revolved around percentage of gold allocated in your portfolio. And I don't know how any one person can say what they think that should be. I've heard people like Jim Cramer say 10% of your portfolio should be in gold. He's revised that to now be 5% gold, 5% cryptocurrency. Does that even make sense to the general population? I don't think so. Some people have real estate that would be 50% of their portfolio, and in that case, they probably want to have a high amount of savings as well. And even saying that out loud doesn't really make sense because there's leverage in play. And so it's a hard question to answer. If you just looked at equities versus gold, 5% to me makes sense, maybe even 10% for some. It all depends. The more relevant question to me is how much you should have just in general. And I think that comes down to your expenses, because I see it as more of a backup plan than anything. So I look at it in terms of runway and burn rate. So how many months do you need to cover? And maybe that's 3 months, maybe that's 12 months, maybe that's 24 months. It all depends on your case as well, how old you are, whether or not you have a family. There are just a lot of things. Anyway, I did say that I was done, and then I jumped right into the weeds on this. I'm gonna have to kick that to another conversation as well. I have covered that a little bit in videos. I will cover that again. It's just a tough question to answer in a format like this. The only reason I even brought it up is that it came up so many times. So let's call it good for real. Let us know what you think. If you like this kind of video, let me know, and let me know what topic you'd like to see next. And if you have any thoughts on specific questions, well, let us know that too. And if you are still here and you don't mind hitting the like button, well, that will help fight the algorithm here, because YouTube just does not like this kind of video from me. And that just isn't your problem. So thank you for watching, especially if you watched the whole thing. I hope you're doing well. And that just kind of feels weird ending it differently. Anyway, take care.